Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to let you know Dan from Department of Labor is on. So wanted to say hi. Ready to
Great,
go when
thank you.
everybody else. Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dan. And I see Anthony also. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Glad to be here. Hello, everybody. Anthony Washington from NBLK.
Still waiting for committee members, and some few folks are trickling in. So we'll start in about 2 minutes. All right, just give us about 2 minutes. Again, thank you everybody for joining. Hey, Jackie, how are you?
Hi, Joel. How are you? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Start in 2 minutes. All right. Thanks. Right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much. I'd like to welcome all of you guys. It's 7:06. I call this meeting to order. My name is Joel Abreu. I am the Business Development Committee Chair for Community Board 12. As always, I want to start with first introductions. Always the goal of what the committee is here for. So I have my co-chair here. Radia, please introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Radia Barnes. I'm the vice chair of this committee. I also sit on Housing and Human Services, and I have been a resident of this neighborhood for the majority of my life. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Radia. My name is Joel Abreu. I've been on the board for going on 5 years. I've been the committee chair for 4 years. I also serve on licensing. Been a resident here for all my life, so I'm always excited. This is our last meeting of our year. It's been an exciting year here at the committee, but I'm really excited. I'm joined by it's just me and Radia now, and then Carl just walked in. So please introduce yourself, Carl.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carl. Appreciate that. And I know we have some members here. We have Ty. I know you're a new member, so welcome to the committee, Ty.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here and check out how this committee works. I was an entrepreneur for many years, and so the business community is near and dear to my heart. And yeah, excited to see how I can help.
Awesome. I know that you're attending some of the committees. We'd love to, for you to join us maybe in the fall. And I look forward to meeting you, talking a little bit about your entrepreneurship this summer, because we're gonna have I think a new member orientation. So we'll look forward to chatting with you. So the goal here at the committee is a resource hub, right? So we have small businesses, we have startups, we have entrepreneurs, people who have brick and mortar, people who have at-home businesses, all kinds of businesses here in Washington Heights and Inwood. And our goal is to harness as much resources as possible, from workforce to legal advice to grants to anything you could think of, training. We have a bunch of community-based organizations and chamber of commerces that attend our meeting. For example, the Washington Heights Chamber of Commerce, the Community League of the Heights, and I'll introduce Jackie now since we're on that topic. Hey, Jackie.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm Jackie Tessman, Director of Community Business Development for Community League of the Heights, CLOTH for short. And we're a CBO. And, part of the program works directly with small businesses, and part of the program organizes community events to bring people into the community in the hope that they will in turn go into the business and surrounding the events and patronize them.
Yes,
So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Jackie, for joining us as always. She's a monthly contributor to this meeting and to the resources that we hold dear. So here at the committee, that's what we do. We like to invite speakers that can add something of value to those who are listening. The small businesses is the life and blood of Washington Heights, especially here. Not just nightlife, but laundromats and bodegas and pharmacies. Here at the committee, that's what we do. We harness all those resources and we try to disseminate those resources to the community. So I have a few announcements. If we can go on with the agenda. The first announcement is the recap of the Small Business Expo. So New York City SBS held a expo in Midtown that included tons of stuff. Like I could spend the whole meeting talking about what was on inside that expo, but they did a great job. Chamber of Commerce's were there, banks were there, CBOs were there, different New York City agencies were there, and it was a great networking event. But it was also things that people could take advantage of, free services. One that really stood out to me is that Harvard Law has a program. Not Harvard Law, excuse me. The School of Business at Harvard has a program, free consulting, and they were there. Have a good one. And they were there, and and I'll put this in the minutes as well. It's basically like a consulting service that is comprised of Harvard grads. The only requirement is that you're in New York City and that your business, has 2 years of revenue. Things like that were there. They were CDFIs that were offering funding opportunities for businesses. It was a great event. They do this every year. And comparing it from last year, it was much bigger. So hopefully it gets bigger than that next year. So that was awesome. Another announcement that I had, and I think I sent it out to a few of our partners here at the committee. New York State has a retail theft prevention tax credit. So New York State is helping small businesses fight back against retail theft. So it's called the Commercial Security Tax Credit Program. It offers a refundable tax credit up to $3,000 per retail location. So this is to basically install security guards, surveillance cameras, alarm systems, license plate readers, anything to prevent theft. I'll include this in the meeting minutes. This is a great, for small businesses that want to upgrade their security and kind of write it off of their taxes at the end of the year. So I'll forward this I'll include it in the meeting minutes and how you could apply for that. All right.
Is it grant?
It's a tax credit.
Yeah.
The tax credit. Details about that, how is in the flyer. If anybody wants it, I can shoot it over to you. Okay. So. Okay. All right. Another thing that I wanted to mention. Bear with me. This week is especially for those entrepreneurs out there. I am myself an entrepreneur, especially in the tech field. Is New York Tech Week. New York Tech Week happens once a year. It's headed by A12, which is a venture capitalist firm. And New York right now is filled with tech startups and venture capitalists doing tons of events throughout the city. Top tech companies all over the world come to New York on New York Tech Week and put on events to network, to do seminars and workshops. Great events. I've been to 2 already in the city. And it's hard to explain it because it's such a big event that's not one particular subject, but it is all in the startup, founder, venture capitalist world. Think unicorns, Airbnbs and Ubers of the world. But this is a great opportunity to, if you're a startup founder or you just started something, or you even have an idea and you want to connect with people that are doing it. This is a great way for you to get out there and network and meet people. So if you Google New York Tech Week, it's the first thing that pops up. If you miss this New York Tech Week, there's also in a Tech Week in San Francisco, and I believe in LA. Don't quote me on LA, but definitely San Francisco. So I enjoy it. It's great. New York Tech Week. One last thing that I wanted to mention, and unfortunately he's not here. Maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. The committee is actually down one member. I just want to give a huge shout out to Chris. Chris Whitaker joined us in the fall. He will be moving, and he's no longer with us in the board. He got a job opportunity, and congratulations to him. We will miss him, and thank you for the work that you did here at the committee. Last thing that I wanted to mention, and we can move forward with our agenda. We had a lengthy discussion about MWBE last month, and the recertification of, or rather the renewal of Executive Law 15A, which governs MWBE on a state level. For you guys who are not familiar, MWBE, it's basically a law requiring that any vendors in New York State, rather that any contracts that New York State has, a percentage of that has to go to minority women-owned businesses. And that law is up for renewal this year. However, I think it's been extended to the end of the year, which is a good thing. Here at the committee, we wanted to voice our opinion and definitely motivate our assemblymen and state senators to push for the renewal. So we were going to, write a letter of support, detailing, here at Community Board 12, we want this to see, to help this move forward, right? This renewal to be moved forward. Unfortunately, this administration, Trump's administration, has put a halt on these type of programs as part of his DEI initiative, or rather the anti-DEI initiative that he has, which is being fought in court. Last time we spoke about getting the right language from the New York Women's Chamber of Commerce. They went out there and went to Albany, and they were able to, I don't have much details, but they were advocating for the MWBE and the renewal. What I suggest to the committee is that we table this for the fall as we see, what's going to be the result of this, because we don't want to, write a letter of, support for this and it's still being battled in court, especially if we don't have the language for it. So I just want to let the committee know that we're going to table this for the fall. When we come back, we can have a renewed discussion about the Executive Law 15A. Okay, what do you think about that, Carl? Radia?
Good idea.
Yep. Is that cool with you, Radia?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So, and speaking of which, I know that because we were having a spirited discussion on MWBEs, we kind of left you behind, Anthony. Thank you so much, Anthony Washington from MBKL Consulting. I know that you were supposed to present last month, but our meeting went a little long. But welcome back. I'm gonna give you your time to speak about your consulting company and the resources you could offer our businesses. Thanks.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for everyone for just allowing me to be here today. I consider it to be an honor. One thing that I just want to be clear of, how much time do I actually have to be able to speak? Because I want to make sure to be respectful of everybody's time, to make sure I do not go over anything.
So we have two more presentations.
Okay.
And our meetings till 9. So,
Okay.
feel free to speak. 15 to 20 minutes at most.
Okay. Got it. All right. Got it. Okay. I will definitely sit back and be just aware of the time so we can actually move in. I will talk a little bit about NBOK itself, but really what I do want to focus on, I want to kind of focus on some of the initiatives that are actually taking place with NBOK. And I'll take a minute just to sort of like kind of just do a quick screen share, and then we'll just go over a couple of things. Just give me 1 second. Thank you. See if it comes up. Okay. Got it. So NBOK, which basically stands keeping things in the black, because we really want to be able to sort of like kind of support organizations and businesses, whether or not we're talking about nonprofit organizations, businesses of all sizes, primarily those large and small. We really want to be able to sort of like kind of come up with a way for people to be able to use data as a tool of empowerment to be able to both grow and scale their business. Now, when NBOK first started about 3 years ago, our primary focus was to be able to actually help people leverage so like kind of data, AI, technology tools, just to be able to so like kind of help drive some type of social impact. And we really wanted to be able to focus on communities as well as businesses or organizations that oftentimes can be overlooked communities. And we really wanted to focus on those businesses and organizations ran by women, people of color, immigrants, veterans, as well as those people who may actually be formerly incarcerated and those is actually overcoming some type of systematic barrier to be where they are. Now, initially, when it first started off, we sort of like kind of served as so like kind of what you might say, so like kind of a boutique type of a data support organization where we wasn't necessarily worried about what we had planned for them. We just really wanted to be able to meet organizations and businesses where they are in the sort of like kind of data process, whether or not it was actually in data collection, data cleaning, data integration, some type of specialized coding, automation, or even just be able to provide them some type of professional training or workshops just to be able to help them so I kind of be able to take advantage of some of the tools that were out there that was supporting their companies. Now, over the last 2.5 years, now mind you, I've been doing this for over 2.5 years, but the company was officially started uh, about 2.5 years ago in January 2023. And since then, we had about 156 clients representing multiple industries. And we're proud to say that 10% of our work has actually been pro bono, because with some of the larger clients that we do have, that allows us to be able to get some type of additional resources for organizations that may be a little bit too small or may not be able to fully afford all of our services. We are now being able to actually take some of the money that we earn from some of the larger companies to be able to use that to be able to support some of the smaller businesses. And 73% of our clients are actually small to mid-sized businesses. But in keeping that in mind, one of the questions that came up, because if we are a company about empowering small to mid-sized companies and organizations, what we did notice is about 49% of our clients kept returning to us within 2 months looking for additional support, guidance, or enhancements for things we already kind of created for them. And about 90% of those were actually small to mid-sized businesses. So the question that kind of came up to our team is like, if we are really about a company that really want to be able to so like kind of empower people, are we really empowering these companies and organizations to do the work that they want to do with tech and data? Are we really helping them build capacity if they always have to return to us to be able to so like kind of get that work done? So we work with our clients and we started asking them, what are some of the reasons why you're returning? What seems to be going on? Despite the training that we're offering you, what seems to be taking place? And a lot of them, even though they have great products, they have great services, the people that they're trying to serve are the clients that they're offering these services for are actually really great and they actually really help the community. A lot of them just didn't really have the resources to be able to so like kind of help push certain things through, or they didn't have the capacity to be able to so like kind of understand and adopt some of these tech tools, or even being able to have the time to be able to learn these things, because a lot of times you really learn these tools through sort of like kind of practice as well as actually just regular use over time. And when you are focusing on actually running an organization or a business, sometimes people just don't have time to be able to learn those things. So in thinking about that, kind of went back to the team and we kind of asked ourselves, if we really want to be able to support these organizations and businesses, what are some initiatives that we can actually put in place to be able to sort of like kind of help these businesses do what they need to do? And so that's where we saw I kind of came up. We saw I kind of four core initiatives. Some of them we are still flushing out right now. Some are actually going into the beta testing phase. But number one, we wanted to be able to offer some type of free office hours. So instead of them actually paying to be able to come to a workshop or a training, let's go ahead and have an office hours where actually companies can actually come to us. They can ask any questions that they want, and we can actually so I kind of help guide them through the process. Another big one initiative is actually called In Network. This is so like kind of a peer group among founders or organization owners where we just work together. There's absolutely no charge for them to join. And it's just sort of like kind of other business owners or organization leaders where they can kind of join a network and we can actually so I kind of all work together just to be able to lean on each other for our different area of expertise or our knowledge, just to be able to support each other. And with that being said, we also have what we call MBLK Polish, which I'm going to go a little bit into a little bit more because that actually leads us to sort of like kind of our biggest initiative right now. And this was actually one of the reasons that a member of MBLK suggested I actually come to this meeting was about the intern matching program that we actually have going on. And I'm just going to go into that in just a little bit more detail. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Uh, so the MBLK matching program is that what we realized is that many of the companies and organizations that were coming back to us, they did not necessarily have the full capacity or the understanding to be able to actually incorporate or integrate these AI, these data, or these tech tools to be able to actually sort of like kind of help grow and scale the organization. So what we did was, or what I did was, I took sort of like kind of this research-based diagnostic tool I actually created with MBLK. So a lot of times when clients come to us, they don't necessarily know what their needs are. They have trouble identifying where their pain points are, where their bottlenecks are, where their inefficiencies. So over the years, I sort of like kind of developed sort of like kind of this diagnostic tool that takes a look at how they're functioning in each one of five kind of development stages. And in each one of those stages, there are so like kind of several so like kind of key cross-functional areas where we can kind of assess them to see exactly where they may be having trouble, whether or not it's actually through HR, whether or not it's actually through administrative support, whether or not it might be in marketing, or it could be in AI integration, or it could be in cybersecurity. We still like kind of assess them in many, many different areas and kind of think of it sort of like kind of as a matching tool just to be able to so I kind of assess where they are. And so what I did was I repurposed that assessment tools, that research-based assessment tool, and I worked with a professor out of Notre Dame, as well as some consultants over at Baruch, as well as actually Pace. And we actually use this diagnostic tool not just to be able to pinpoint where businesses or organizations would be struggling, we now are actually using the tool to be able to identify the type of talent or staff member they can actually bring into their organization to be able to help meet those needs in either tech, data, or AI for them to be able to help them grow their businesses. Now, the key thing about it is that we want to be able to keep this at a very, very low cost for the customer as well as the client. And right now it's absolutely so like kind of a free service as we go through the testing phase of all this. But what we do now is we essentially use this tool to be able to match businesses, especially small businesses, with interns in the STEM field, where we're talking about science, technology, engineering, mathematics, which, as you know, so like kind of covers many, many different areas. Whether or not we're talking about fintech, whether or not we're talking about AI engineering, or we're talking about building out data dashboards, website developments, automation, chat bots for their customers. All these different things fit within the realm of STEM. And so one of the reasons why we wanted to be able to match businesses with sort of like kind of this young STEM talent is we wanted to be able to offer businesses and organizations sort of like kind of a lower cost are being able to bring in so like kind of these interns into their organization at no cost. So that when we're talking about young people who just want to have an opportunity to be able to gain real world experience, but this also provides a company or an organization to be able to start actually identifying those young people that may be able to grow with the company, and they can actually be at a lower cost to be able to so I kind of help them meet there. And we kind of went into the phases of development. We already started developing tools. We even actually started working with some again, as I mentioned earlier, some of the universities to be able to actually start testing out prototypes for this product to be able to use not only AI to be able to take the diagnostic tool that I created, but to use AI to be able to have more precision matching, to be able to find the exact right talent for a company or organization to be able to match with that company precisely, to be able to come and actually work with the organization short term or long term, so that way the company can actually scale in whatever area of AI, data, or tech integration they need to be able to grow their company. So that's one of the things right there. And so right now we're at the phase right now, we're actually going to go into a full beta testing mode for the summer of 2025 because we already have the prototype out there. We already did some testing. We already have many different companies that have signed up with us to be able to be part of so like kind of this pilot project. And we are actually looking to be able to actually launch this within the tri-state area come the fall and winter of 2025 up until 2026. And if things go well, we will actually be able to actually look for a full launch nationwide within 2026. And again, this is actually of no charge to businesses because we want to be able to make sure that we actually sort of kind of have the right precision. So yes, even though companies and organizations still come to NBLK for support, we want to be able to build capacity and be able to empower them. We don't want to be a consulting company where people have to keep coming back to us. We want to be able to be an organization where uh, they can come to us, but we can also help match them with the type of people that can actually go into their organization and be able to actually grow with the company as well. And so this is actually one of the major initiatives we actually have going on, which is so like kind of that MBLK business diagnostic tool, again, free of charge, where businesses can actually go in, input certain information about their company. We're not asking for any financial information, anything like that. But again, we're taking a look at many different functional areas of a company itself. Again, going back to HR, going back to marketing, going back to administrative tasks, record keeping, bookkeeping, advertising, AI integration, data integration, and so forth. And through this sort of like kind of assessment, again, we're able to be able to pinpoint where their pain points, their bottlenecks, or where their inefficiencies are. And also with those other initiatives we have going on where they can actually join sort of like kind of a network of other business owners just to be able to share ideas. And also we also have, again, we have our free office hours, and these are some of our events that's actually coming up is absolutely free of charge. So if any business or organization have questions about spreadsheets or what is the best cloud platform to use or what are some automation tasks, how do you design a survey, how do you build a dashboard, they can actually come and ask those questions. And so now going back to the other initiative, which was actually talking about the interns as well too, one of the primary concerns that came up with us doing these initiatives that we started developing this right so like kind of doing the presidential campaign and so forth. And one of the concerns that really came up is that we were unsure about what funding for small businesses was going to look like at the federal level. And we were also concerned about what student visas were going to look like for these young people that actually are actually studying some type of STEM field. So what we figured is if we actually figure out a way to be able to bring both international STEM students together, as well as small businesses that may actually be impacted by funding cuts from the federal government itself, we figure we can actually bring these two groups together, these two very vulnerable, possibly vulnerable groups together to be able to have them working together so that way we can actually so like kind of build strength and some level of solidarity to be able to make social impact, while also being able to protect international STEM students that are actually vital to business growth in this country, as well as protecting small businesses by usually marginalized communities and so forth. So that's sort of like kind of it in a nutshell. And please feel free to ask any questions, or if I was unclear about anything, just please let me know and I'll be happy to go over it. So those are sort of like kind of the four major initiatives that MBOK has going on. And again, our sole slogan of MBOK is about empowerment through data development, especially for those who are actually impacted or actually have been overlooked communities or marginalized communities, just to be able to help them grow and leverage AI and data and so forth, just to be able to help grow and scale their businesses and organizations. Thank you.
Excellent, Anthony. Thank you so much. Honestly, awesome stuff that you're doing. I do have a few questions.
Yes, please.
So just detail your website for us. If you have an email, um, yeah, those two things. And like you mentioned office hours. I don't know if you have a physical location, or is it something that people can email you, business owners can email you.
Oh, yeah.
Just detail that out for us.
Okay, got it. Well, do you want me to put it in the chat or you just
Yeah,
want
you can put it in the chat, and you can also say it.
got it.
So, man.
Well, one of the things about it is so like kind of this weird, and I still put MBOK in the position of actually being a startup ourselves. And so like kind of through the growing pains that MBOK had to go through just to be able to grow our businesses, that's where we sort of like kind of realized that there was sort of like kind of some missing support for small businesses as they grew. And so that's what we did. So we don't have a physical location. So all of the trainings that we do are actually online or virtual. The office hours are virtual because we have to be able to make it convenient for everybody because we're working with people from all over the city. We also even work with some people over in Europe as well too, especially the UK and over in Germany, and a lot of folks on the West Coast as well too. So I'll be more than happy to provide that information. Email address, you can email me personally if you like. You can actually email our admin account as well too. We do have a small team of dedicated smart people do that, and I'm going to be more than happy to put that in the chat. And I'll go ahead and put that in the chat right now.
And your website? Do you have a website?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can
Yes,
put
sir.
that in the chat as
Yep,
well.
I'm putting that in there right now.
And if you could send the your deck to the board, that would be great.
Okay.
One of the things that we've been working on and will be coming out in the fall is our resource guide.
Yes.
I've been promising that for a year and a half, and it's currently under development. And I want to
Right.
include your program into this resource guide that
Right.
our businesses can tap into.
Right.
Uh,
But I will say this, and one of the things I do want to add, because like I said, with the number of clients that we actually had with MBOK over the past 2.5 years, like I said, we're talking about 156 different clients, and like I said, about 50% of those are actually coming back. But what we want to do is we want to be able to make sure that the support that we're offering other small businesses and other organizations, we want to be able to make sure that we're precise in the type of support that we're giving them. So, like I said, when we start talking about actually AI, data, and tech integration, that can cover so many different areas. And even though we are working with our clients based on some of the things they identify that they actually want, we realize there's actually thousands of other businesses in the New York City area. So if there's any type of way we can actually tap into them just to be able to kind of collect their feedback. So then that way, whatever type of office hours or whatever type of talent or intern matching they may need, we want to make sure that we actually know exactly what their needs are to make sure we match them and also make sure that whatever office hours or training we offer actually meets the needs of what people really want in this city as well.
yeah, excellent. And my last question is well, I have two actually.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a university or a pool of talent that you're working with in order
Yep.
to match them?
Yep. We actually have two partnerships right now. One with actually Pace, and they were actually excellent and actually helping us to kind of be able to kind of develop the prototype with this AI model, and then also working with Baruch as well too. And I believe I'm going to be working a little bit more directly with them because I do think they actually have offered to be able to actually have me work with them on their board to be able to help with the student community as well too. So yeah, we actually do have those partnerships. And we're now hoping to be able to actually grow and develop other relationships as force with other universities within the New York City area as well too. And then hopefully expand to the tri-state area.
Excellent. So how do you apply for specifically the matching initiative that you have?
Oh, all you have to do is just
Awesome.
go to the website. I'll go ahead and just bring it up. It's just like a little page right there. I'll go ahead and type that in as well too. Let's see, .Ford and network. And all the information should be right there.
Okay.
Yep, I just put it into the chat.
Okay, great.
Yep,
Great.
and one thing that I will say about that, because we actually are still kind of like going through the beta test for that, like I said, this is absolutely at no cost for any businesses to actually sign up. And then we're going to be able to roll this out this summer. We're doing some fine tuning right now. So any businesses that actually sign up right now, like I said, it's no charge. And we don't do any subscription fees because small businesses are already being eaten alive by monthly subscription fees. This is not a subscription fee thing. And if we do actually develop in time, it might be like a small cost just for a one-time match. But no, it's not a monthly subscription fee or anything like that.
And this is definitely my last question. Do you have to have existing revenue, or can it be a startup too,
Well,
specifically for the matching initiative?
right. So when we actually think about actually the business development, we look at it so like kind of in five different phases. We look at those that are actually in the planning stage, those in the launching stage, those are actually in the stabilization phase, established, as well as integration. Now, primarily when we actually do internship matching or staffing matching, we primarily like to work with those that are actually in what we like to say the stabilization phase, where they actually have an EIN. They actually saw I kind of actually registered as a business. But we do not want to cut off those who are actually in the early stages of development, those who are in the planning stage or the launch phase. So with that being said, one of the reasons why we want to be able to fine tune this, even though we may not be able to place interns with them because they don't have an EIN, we want to be able to actually have match them with interns for so like kind of short-term projects to be able to take them there. So now we're actually starting to look at businesses that's in the early stages of development where they may not have been registered yet. So they can actually work, the interns can actually work under MBOK, but we will have them actually work with the businesses until we actually get them to the stabilization phase where they actually have an EIN and they have their business established and so forth. Did that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay,
gotcha.
good.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Your initiatives will go on our resource guide as well as our minutes.
Yep.
I will, any of the committee members that have businesses that may take advantage of this or benefit from this, please refer them to Anthony's program. Thank you. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Mr. Washington. And again, I apologize for last month.
No, no need to apologize. I'm actually putting my email address into the chat as well.
Yes,
So
please.
if anybody has any questions, just please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to meet with anybody anytime and just to be able to help out. Thank you for this opportunity, everybody.
Thank you so much. I thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank
So
you.
moving along, wait, I forgot to ask if the committee has any questions. Good? Oh, oh. Oh, he's there. Yeah.
Oh, I do have a probably silly question. I'm sorry I was late and you probably mentioned this already, Anthony. How do you make money? What is your model to make a revenue on your own business? Since most of the services that you listed here today are for free and you are not a subscription. And then the other question is, because you are looking for businesses that are creating impact, is there any particular sector or kind of activity that you are focusing on in order for businesses to qualify?
Well, I would say to answer the question about revenue, one of the things I would probably be very happy about is that as far as my career, I think I've been fairly successful enough in my career that this is also so like kind of an opportunity for me to be able to give back. Because my whole entire career has actually been built in so like kind of the public sector CBO as far as volunteering and things like that. And I do believe in actually sharing knowledge. So because I've actually so like kind of been and doing this type of work for so like kind of over 20 plus years, it so like kind of allowed me to be able to build a foundation where I can actually so like kind of actually launch this without it being too much of a financial burden. And also because of the first nearly 3 years with NBOK, because there actually has been some relative success working with some other companies, That's one of the reasons why we can so I kind of actually launched this initiative to be able to actually so I kind of free of charge because like I said, while we are in the testing phase for this, we want to make sure that we be able to get it right. Now, at some point, there probably will be a fee attached to this, but we do want to make it affordable and we want to be able to actually test out the product first just to make sure it actually meets the needs of other organizations. And then when we actually get past the phase of actually beta testing, where we might charge for the services, again, this is going to be a small fee just to be able to maintain the initiative as well as these products and the maintenance over time as well too. So we do actually see this actually being profit based moving forward, but right now we just want to make sure we test it out and make sure it's actually work. Now, as far as the what is the motivation? The motivation is just, and God, and I'm going to make this a little bit personal. Uh, Growing up where I grew up and seeing how much of a disparity was between so like kind of opportunities as well as money, resources, and those that were actually able to have businesses. My motivation is just being able to actually be able to so I kind of help grow our community so that way we can actually sit back and actually so I kind of support ourselves because a lot of times, it feels like we're kind of overlooked. And I do believe that as long as we actually work with each other, that we can actually have some level of success because we don't have success without isolation. So I do like to work with other businesses, people who come from our communities, because my belief is that if I'm helping them, at some point they're going to be able to actually help other people as well too. So that's sort of like kind of my motivation. And it's just being able to so I kind of be able to create some type of economic growth in our own community. And this goes back long ago to the research that I've actually done where it talked about microloans in certain parts of India and other countries as well too, and how much of an impact it made for those communities. And I believe that we can actually do the same. And me working with data, I see how a lot of times certain communities are left behind being able to leverage AI and data to be able to do the work they have to do. And because I have so much experience working in those fields, I now want to be able to actually take that gospel to other companies to be able to help them grow as well too. So there's several different motivations there, but it's really being about being able to help our communities grow so that way we do not get left behind in this huge sort of like kind of ever growing type of data AI world that we live in. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And actually, while we're here, Darley actually came in and Bruce came in as well. So please introduce yourself, Darley. You didn't get an opportunity to introduce yourself and Bruce as well.
I'm Darlene Cornell. I'm a member. This is my first year on the community board, and I'm a member of this committee. I have been in the neighborhood for 11 years now. Love to be part of it. Still trying to figure out exactly how to make my presence here helpful and meaningful. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Darley. And our OG, Mr. Bruce.
Bruce Roberts, 120 years old. 7 years. Just in traffic and transportation, which last night was a lot of fun. We got a full house.
I can't wait to hear all about it.
Oh my God. Talk about bikes, talk about people, and it was rocking.
Yeah.
20 people here.
Interesting.
There's a lot going on with bike lanes and so forth, and DOT. It's always causing angst with people.
I'm not jealous of
please
Leo.
tell me talk about the Riverside Drive.
Nothing's happening.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I saw your email. I live right in front, at the end of the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not envious of Leo in that committee.
He's a great.
No, he's doing a great job. Can you tell us, Bruce, while you're there, how was the policy breakfast?
Oh my God, it was fast. It's been like 100 people. We had
And just Washington Heights Chamber of Commerce had a policy breakfast a couple weeks ago. Just for everybody.
We had an honorarium Peter Walsh. We had Carmen De La Rosa. We had the professor from Cuba who was really fascinating, and she's kind of the head of the AI department. Where did Anthony go. So she presented on video her whole speech in Spanish, and it was perfectly spoken
Wow.
Spanish with her face. And then afterwards, she said, "I don't speak Spanish. This was totally AI." She went into the studio,
Get outta
recorded
here.
her face making, motions and everything, and then they dubbed in the Spanish for about probably 5 minutes, and so they're actually doing, and I actually signed up. They're doing an online course for AI, chat GPT, the whole concept of AI. It's like $50 if you're a member of the chamber. And I got to learn about this because every day something. But,
Yeah.
it was a good meeting. We had representatives from all over. We had the new director from the SBS. I forget her name now, but she's relatively new. We had other speakers. So a good time was had by all.
Great. I couldn't have made it, but I'm sure it was fun. So the program that you're referring to is YU Global AI Essentials
Yeah.
for business owners, right in line with what
Very good.
Anthony is talking about. It's basically learning about applicable strategies that can benefit small business owners when it comes to automating tasks, generating content, and insights into your business market. So you can sign up. I'll also put this in the minutes. It's at you can register. It's $50 for chamber members and $75 for non-members, and it's multilingual. It's 14 lessons. So yeah, it's a lot of lessons that you can really hone in on AI. So if anybody's interested in that, I'm actually gonna put that in the chat. Give in a few minutes. But yes, going forward, moving our agenda along, we have Mr. Daniel Berman. He is from the Department of Labor. Welcome, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you maybe just give me a heads up or we see it, that would be great. Great. Thank you. So good evening, everybody. Thank you so much first to Radia Barnes for the invitation. And thank you to everybody on the Business Development Committee for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. So I'm Dan Kaufman-Burson. I am from the New York State Department of Labor's Cannabis Employment and Education Development Team. We go by SEED for short because the full name is just way too long. But tonight, I'm going to take about 15 minutes to really give you a quick overview of our work as the cannabis unit at the Department of Labor and share some information that we typically provide to businesses, entrepreneurs in New York State, as well as those that might be interested in cannabis employment. I know that this committee is specifically business focused, and I'll certainly cover no cost services available for New York businesses through the Department of Labor. I'm also going to cover some basic information on employment in the cannabis industry, since that's helping on the employment side is really our main focus. But I'm hoping that that's helpful for you or members of your community. And then I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you might have at the end. So the cannabis unit at Department of Labor was formed in early 2022. Our mission is listed here on this slide. I'm not going to read it word for word, but really if I boil it down, we are working to help increase participation in the cannabis industry for groups that are traditionally underrepresented in regulated cannabis industries across the United States. And we're specifically focused in New York on working to increase participation for people from communities that were negatively impacted during cannabis prohibition due to over-policing, which certainly Washington Heights, Upper Manhattan were certainly communities negatively impacted due to over-policing during cannabis prohibition. So it's a specific focus for us to help those communities connect with cannabis. The way that we are working towards our mission, is multifaceted, but we've listed, our main goals on this slide here. Number one, really working to highlight opportunities in the cannabis industry. Ones that are here currently, ones that will be coming in the coming months and years. A big part of that is simply doing what I'm doing tonight, presenting to anybody that will listen and invite us, just to help everybody understand what's here, what's coming, how can people connect or take advantage of opportunities in the cannabis industry if they're interested. Number two, and I'll talk about this in another couple of slides, but we are consistently developing new resources to really help reduce barriers for people to enter the industry. Mostly on the employment side, just because that's our bread and butter. And I'll go through available resources on our website at Department of Labor to help job seekers in particular connect with cannabis opportunities. Number three, we are certainly working to bridge the gap to cannabis education across New York State. So we have seen CUNY, SUNY, community colleges, private colleges, and universities across New York State and in New York City that have created cannabis-specific programs. I'll talk about this in another couple of slides as well, but we are working to connect people with those programs for anybody that's interested in formal education in cannabis. Number four, and I'm going to talk about some of these services tonight, but we certainly work to connect job seekers and businesses with no-cost services across the Department of Labor. A lot of what I'm going to talk about tonight from a no-cost service perspective will be business focused, just because I know that's really the purview or the main focus for this committee. But we help roughly 500,000 job seekers and 30,000 businesses per year on average across New York State, just to give you a sense for the number of New Yorkers and New York businesses that we help every year. And then number five, last but not least, a big part of the job is just working to integrate cannabis into the Department of Labor. As you can imagine, there's a lot that Department of Labor does. It's a very large state agency. We are trying to make sure that cannabis is being supported across as many divisions and teams as is possible at the Department of Labor. So a little bit about no-cost business services that could be helpful for any business owners, entrepreneurs that are on the call currently, as well as any businesses in the Washington Heights, Inwood area of New York City. These no-cost services are available for any New York State business at no cost. So to go through these services really quickly, in case it's helpful, we can help businesses hire. We can help with posting jobs online. We can help connect businesses to recruitment and hiring fairs that are happening both in person and virtually. We can also search in our database of thousands of job seekers across New York State and New York City to help connect businesses with job seekers that meet the qualifications and skill needs that businesses have when they're hiring, to really reduce the time and effort that it takes to hire across New York State. Number two, we can help businesses understand hiring incentives and tax credits that may exist at the state and federal level. If we're talking cannabis businesses, just because my focus is cannabis, most of the hiring incentives and tax credits available for cannabis businesses are going to be on the state level, whereas other industries can avail themselves of federal tax credits. And that's just due to the illegality of cannabis at the federal level still, even though it's legal in New York State. Number three, we can help businesses understand best practices when it comes to being an employer, whether it's labor law and regulations around labor law in New York State and at the federal level. We can also help employers write employee handbooks and just think about how to be an employer if they haven't done that before, because there's certainly a decent number of small businesses that have, especially in cannabis, have not operated a business before, haven't been an employer before. We can help them think through best practices. Next, we can also help businesses ensure that they're operating a safe workplace. So we have an on-site consultation program, again, at no cost, that can come on site to a business and provide an assessment based on federal OSHA regulations and guidelines that oversee workplace safety, and provide an assessment based on what a business may need to correct or fix based on those federal workplace safety regulations and guidelines. And then finally, we at the Department of Labor do a ton of collecting of labor market information and have an incredible amount of dashboards available for free, where people can just understand labor market information for their specific area or statewide, which could help businesses, make determinations based on wages, help them think about, what other industries are active in my area, which could help understand with hiring or understand transferable skills that people may have from other industries that transfer well into the particular industry a business is hiring for. Additionally, on the business services side, we have a business advocacy office at the Department of Labor. Their contact information is here, but the business advocacy office is really available to any business in New York State that is experiencing trouble connecting or getting an answer from the Department of Labor. Certainly understand that that happens when working with a state agency. DOL wanted to create an office to help groups navigate the Department of Labor. So whether it's not, a business not being sure where to start, or not being able to get an answer to a particular question, the Business Advocacy Office can help navigate some of those speed bumps or barriers for businesses across New York State. Pivoting slightly to more of our job seeker employment focused resources at the Department of Labor. What I've done here is listed information that's available on the Department of Labor's cannabis website. So I mentioned a few slides ago that the cannabis unit at DOL is constantly working to develop new resources to reduce barriers to help people connect with the cannabis industry. Our website is a great place to connect with those resources. So at the top of the slide is the landing page for the Department of Labor's cannabis content, dol.ny.gov/cannabis. And then really the meat of the slide, I've broken out the 3 job seeker subpages that contain content to really help people connect with cannabis. And I'm going to go through them really briefly. We have a cannabis career exploration page, which is really meant to help people understand what opportunities are out there in the cannabis industry and what could be a good fit for them on the employment side, at least. So we have a transferable skills assessment tool that can help people understand, what are those skills people may have developed outside of cannabis that transfer very well into the cannabis industry. We have also, and I'm going to talk about transferable skills in another couple slides, just as a heads up. We've also, to help give people a sense as to what the day-to-day looks like in specific segments of the cannabis industry, we've created summaries of expected jobs across cannabis, as well as 50 full template job descriptions for expected jobs in cannabis to give people a sense, again, of the day-to-day duties and responsibilities of working in specific segments of cannabis, as well as helping people understand what working conditions look like, so they can make informed decisions about what might be of interest to them in the industry. We are also seeing the job descriptions actually as a resource for cannabis businesses as well. When cannabis businesses look to start hiring, they are using our job descriptions as a starting point for posting jobs. Next, we have a cannabis education page. So I mentioned that we are tracking cannabis education programs at CUNY, SUNY, private colleges and universities, whether it's majors, minors, micro-credentials, certificates, courses, training programs at those institutions. On our cannabis education page, we have a table of those programs, which provides some basic information on what's being taught, and then a connection to those programs directly if anybody's interested in learning more. Also on our cannabis education page, and this is just available more generally for anybody in New York State, not specific to cannabis, but if you're not familiar with Coursera or North Star Digital Literacy, they are both incredible, no-cost online learning platforms available through Department of Labor that help, on the Coursera side at least, can help people really develop skills across almost every industry that exists, especially in New York State. There's courses from renowned universities across the United States and really the country that people can access for free. And then North Star Digital Literacy is an online learning platform to help people develop their computer-based skills if need be, whether that's software or equipment-based. And then finally, we have a Finding a Cannabis job page that really helps people understand the step-by-step the steps really for looking for work in the cannabis industry, and then connecting people to in-person and virtual resources for every step along the way. Pivoting now to really the world of cannabis employment. Again, I know that the purview of this committee is a little bit more business focused, but hoping that this information could be helpful for you really, or community members that are thinking about cannabis as a possible career move. So one place we like to start is just providing some high level information. One thing I will say at the start is this is really just the beginning of the rollout of the cannabis industry in New York State. New York legalized adult use cannabis in March of 2021. We didn't see really the first store opening until the end of retail dispensary open until the end of 2022. And we really haven't seen growth of the number of retail dispensaries statewide until late 2023 throughout 2024. So there is still a lot of room to grow when it comes to business operators across New York State. What's exciting about that is as more and more businesses open their doors, come online, we're going to see thousands of jobs created across New York State as more and more businesses really get off the ground. The last thing I'd say from this slide is what's exciting about cannabis as well is There are many, many ways to enter the industry, diverse career paths for getting into cannabis. And also what that means is regardless of what somebody's done in the past, there's very likely something in cannabis that relates to a transferable skill they have already or relates to an interest that they might have from a career perspective or a business ownership perspective. A couple other things we'd like to mention up front. I've mentioned this a couple of times, but understanding transferable skills is really the name of the game, both for job seekers and for cannabis businesses across New York State. So on the job seeker side, it's really about understanding what skills have I developed outside of the cannabis industry that transfer well into segments of cannabis. And I can guarantee you that everybody on this call today has some transferable skill, right, that transfer into a segment of the cannabis industry. So, when looking for work, it's about identifying those transferable skills, highlighting them in a resume and cover letter when people look for work. And on the business side, the hiring side, right, it's about understanding what transferable skills work well for the particular business that I might be running and figuring out where people have developed those skills and looking to hire people with those transferable skills. And the reason that transferable skills are really important is because, at this stage, not everybody has prior cannabis work experience, especially in New York State. It's just too new. So on the job seeker side, understanding those skills helps get a foot in the door from an employment perspective. On the business side, finding qualified people doesn't have to be cannabis specific, right? They can find people with those great transferable skills. Number two, not everybody thinks about this, but people do not need to be cannabis consumers to work in the cannabis industry. These are highly regulated, very professional work environments. People that do not consume cannabis, there's certainly a place for them in the cannabis industry, both from an employment and business ownership perspective. Number three, both for job seekers and for budding entrepreneurs, because cannabis is still illegal in the eyes of the federal government, at least adult use and medical cannabis. We do like to mention that if anybody's going through the process of becoming a citizen of the United States, they may want to speak with an attorney before accepting work or starting a business in regulated cannabis. There have been not many, but a few stories of people's immigration processes being interrupted because of working in cannabis or starting a cannabis business. We want people to be safe, right? So just to think through that before they start a cannabis business or accept work in the industry. In case anybody is unfamiliar with kind of just the segments of the cannabis industry and the opportunities that are presented currently and as the industry continues to roll out in New York State, we'd like to just break out the segments and provide some highlight in case it's helpful. I'll go through these and very quickly, but individually, starting on the top row, then moving to the bottom. We have the cultivation and nursery businesses that are operating on the agricultural side of cannabis, growing, harvesting, trimming cannabis plants. That creates both business opportunity as well as job opportunities to work for those agricultural companies that are growing cannabis plants across New York State. Number two, the manufacturing and infusion facilities are the ones that are extracting concentrated cannabis oil from cannabis plants and turning that oil into its own product for consumption, or they're taking that concentrated oil and infusing it into products that are consumed by people across New York State. So if you've seen gummies, chocolates, if you've seen mints or ointments or salves, all of those products are created at manufacturing and infusion facilities across New York State, at least the ones that are being sold at regulated dispensaries in New York. Number three, testing and sampling facilities are actually involved with the collection of samples of cannabis and cannabis products and the testing of them to make sure that they're safe for consumption. So make sure that they don't have contaminants that would potentially make people sick when they consume them, and also make sure that cannabis products actually contain the ingredients and the potency of the psychoactive ingredient THC within them that the labels say that they have. Next, distribution and delivery, right? Moving cannabis products across New York State as well as warehousing it across New York State is really the distribution side of moving cannabis between businesses in New York. Delivery is actually delivering cannabis and cannabis products to consumers, mainly at their place of residence. Retail and on-site consumption. So the retail space has started to blossom a bit in New York over the last year. New York City has certainly seen an uptick in the number of operating regulated dispensaries. These are the retail shops that sell cannabis and cannabis products to consumers. And then the on-site consumption spaces don't exist yet, but that will be a licensed business in New York where people can ultimately they'll be able to purchase cannabis on site and then consume it there. So similar to a coffee shop where you purchase a cup of coffee, drink it there. This will be actually purchasing cannabis, consuming it on site at that business location. Again, those don't exist yet, which is why you haven't seen them. That's not a licensed activity yet, but it will be in the future. And then finally, the ancillary space creates a ton of opportunity. So when I'm speaking about ancillary, I'm thinking about any business or any service provided to a company that does not directly touch cannabis plants or cannabis products is an ancillary business or an ancillary role. So a few examples, this is just the tip of the iceberg, but construction, HVAC, security, payroll, compliance, tax accounting, web design, facilities maintenance, branding, sales, right? All of these services that are critical to any business or required for cannabis businesses as well, create a ton of opportunity in the ancillary space for entrepreneurs and business ownership, as well as employment. Getting to the last substantive slide here, transferable skills, just in case it's helpful to see a couple of examples of technical and soft skills, technical or hard skills and soft skills that transfer well into cannabis, both from an employment and a business ownership hiring perspective. We like to provide this information. All of these hard or technical skills are certainly things that people have developed working outside of cannabis. Again, that transfer very well into the cannabis industry. Whether it's somebody that's worked in agriculture or a garden center in the past, if somebody's maintained equipment, if somebody's manufactured food or handled food for consumption, if somebody's transported goods or warehoused goods across New York State, if somebody's worked in sales, hospitality, customer service, those are all technical skills that people have that transfer very well into the various segments of cannabis. And then again, on the ancillary side, construction, HR, HVAC, security, web design, branding. If people have provided these types of services for businesses in the past, they can certainly transition to provide these same services for cannabis businesses. And then finally, on the soft skill side, we have heard from cannabis employers that sometimes the soft skills are more important than the technical skills because they can train in-house. But people's ability to communicate, work as part of a team, adapt, solve problems, manage conflict. We are hearing over and over that these are wildly valuable skills for cannabis businesses. Probably, not surprising to hear, for small businesses in general, people's ability to have all these soft skills, wildly important. And we encourage people when they're looking for work to highlight them for sure. And we encourage business owners to value them when they look for new hires. And then finally, happy to answer any questions. If anybody would like to reach the cannabis unit at the Department of Labor, whether it's questions on our services, questions about cannabis, please feel free to reach out at any point at seed@labor.ny.gov. Happy to place that email address in the chat. And then there's a QR code and link to our cannabis website at DOL that has all of the resources that I previously mentioned in case anybody is interested. But thank you so much again for the opportunity. Happy to answer any questions that attendees might have.
Thank you so much, Dan. I have my I have a few questions. So I've been the chair since 2022, at the end of 2021, and we were following this very heavy. Obviously, Washington Heights was affected on the war on drugs, and we were following closely. This was before any retail stores opened up. So I'm glad to see that New York State is kind of has this initiative to up the ante on workforce, and I think this is a great thing. We have two stores, Sparkboro and Happy Monkey, which are both retail dispensaries, and followed by all this, we've actually created a cannabis task force, which is a task force within the community board. And I will invite you to go to their meeting because they deal directly with the licenses, new licenses that are coming out and the licensees that have already been awarded. So I invite you to that. And if you want, you can email me and I'll give you the chair's email address. Yes, Carl?
What's his direct contact?
Do you have one of the committee members, Carl, is asking, do you have a direct email if you want to put that in the chat?
Yep, I'll put that right now. So we have a shared email address for the cannabis unit, which is, it's just great to email there just because the whole team will see the communication and we can all be in the loop in terms of what somebody might need help with. So I will post that into the chat right now.
I'll let you know what it is right now. That's seed right there. Yeah, seed.
Yep.
Okay, it's the same one. All right.
Same one. Yep.
So I invite you to go to the Cannabis Task Force. I think Nobles is the one that chairs that.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, you are.
Oh, you are. Okay, great. So you can I didn't know that you were great. So you can pass along this email. I guess you'll email him and you guys can set up maybe it wouldn't be now, it would be probably in the fall.
Back in September.
Yeah, you guys will be back in September. So
We are planning some big forum to give information to people and things.
oh, this is a great resource.
I know, that'd be great.
Okay, great. So we'll pass it along then to the task force.
Thank you so much. And, you know, the one other thing I'd add, and just in terms of mentioning resources is, you know, you may be aware, I didn't go too in depth in it today just because I was trying to be a little bit more business focused where possible with the mention of resources, but we have 95 career centers across New York State that help job seekers every single day with writing resumes, cover letters, applying for jobs, doing career assessments. We have resource rooms in all of our career centers that you know, where people can access computers, phones, printers, fax machines, if somebody still needs those. So we still have them. So I just wanted to mention, you know, that there are certainly job seeker resources available more generally than cannabis through the Department of Labor, which I'd be happy to cover in a separate session with the task force if that would be helpful. But just wanted to mention that while I had the time. You might be muted, just a heads up if you're another question.
Sorry about that. What's the nearest DOL resource room?
Yeah, great question. Probably actually the one where Radia and I both work, the 215 West 125th Street. So right next to the Apollo Theater is probably the closest. I mean, quick trip on the A train. So right over on Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, right off just west of there.
What's the address again? So we can have that in minutes.
Absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll post in the chat. It's 215 West 125th Street. I will post the address as well as the phone number for the career center in the chat, because sometimes it's always great to make an appointment if possible before going in, just to make sure somebody doesn't have to wait for a little while to be seen. So I'll post that information in the chat.
Great. And you'll forward that to Nobles. Okay. I have two other questions. Do you, on the education section of the labor, do you have any information on the wage, on what the wages are for transferable skills? Just because, you know, if I'm hypothetically speaking, if I'm in sales, right, or, you know, something else, I want to be able to understand what type of jump I'm making, especially economically.
So at least specifically on the cannabis side of things, we don't have data, quite honestly, on wages in New York State's cannabis industry currently. We are certainly having conversations about surveying cannabis businesses to understand what people are earning in cannabis across New York State. Not to go too much in the weeds, no pun intended, you know, because cannabis is illegal in the eyes of the federal government, it doesn't have its own industry code. So the way that Department of Labor and a lot of agencies typically track activity, wage related or otherwise, is based on an industry code that's assigned to particular industries. Cannabis does not have its own unique code, so we can't rely on information that's, you know, generally available. We have to survey businesses across New York State to get a sense really as to what cannabis wages look like, which is something we're working on. If you're thinking more generally, you know, what does a salesperson earn in New York State, regardless of the industry, that is information that certainly could be available or is available on a dashboard on the Department of Labor's website, which I can try to find in the time that I have, and if not, post that in the chat afterwards for sure. I don't know which way you were leaning though. Maybe
I was talking specifically about cannabis, but you can post that anyway in the chat. I'll take a look at it. That'd be great.
And then one other thing I'll mention is there are reputable third parties that have done some surveying of cannabis businesses and employees across the United States, right? Just to give a baseline understanding as to what do people earn, what ranges are being earned across segments of the cannabis industry across the US. So Vangst, VANGST, is a cannabis recruitment firm that's done surveys over the last couple of years. I will post a link to their 2024 salary guide that provides great information on just what do salaries generally look like across the US. And from what I've seen, New York State is generally in line with what those ranges look like. But there's some variability. The one thing I'll mention up front is, you will see some salary ranges below minimum wage in New York State because there are other states that are part of that survey. So just a heads up, please don't worry that there are New York businesses out there paying people under minimum wage. It was a US wide survey they did. So
yeah, Darren.
What's the number, the number to the 12?
The what number?
He said he was.
Oh yeah, you have a phone number for the labor center that you guys are.
Yep, I'm gonna post that in the chat. As soon as really I
Yeah.
stop speaking, give you some time back, I'll post the contact information and address for the Career Center. I'll post a link to the Department of Labor's labor market information dashboards. There's a ton of great information there, as well as the Vangst salary guide from 2024, a link to that. But any other questions, I'm happy to continue to answer them for sure.
All right, yeah, we have 4 bullet points on the chat.
Okay.
Pending, and go ahead,
Just one question. Given the current administration, and as you mentioned, that cannabis is not necessarily legal at the federal level. It's also not legal in any construction site in New York City, at least not in a nice construction site. Has the DOL thought about how to address the potential for this administration to go legally after the cannabis industry and the businesses in it?
Certainly, that's a topic of conversation that came up for the Office of Cannabis Management more. So the Office of Cannabis Management is the regulating agency in New York State that grants cannabis business licenses and also just puts out the regulations as dictating how cannabis businesses need to operate. So there is definitely some discussion that I saw publicly from them around the change in the federal administration, what that could look like for the cannabis industry. I don't personally know, right? I think there are other focuses and at the federal level. And we've certainly seen cannabis legal in the several states across the United States for several years now, dating back to 2012 in Washington State and Colorado. So it's been around for a while, and we haven't seen, at least from early days in California, we haven't seen the federal government enforcing federal law against legally operating cannabis industries in states that have chosen to regulate it. So, I'm not sure certainly what could happen, but there doesn't honestly seem to be much of a focus on it currently in terms of at least enforcement. There's clearly, there's not going to be support at the federal level for the cannabis industry because it's not legal in the eyes of the federal government. We have not seen enforcement cracking down on these legally regulated and operating industries. I'm not sure if that could change, but I think it remains to be seen, quite honestly.
All right. Thank you, Darlene. So I have another question. Oh, okay. Last question here. Have you speaking on auxiliary businesses? Have you seen sanitation be one of them? Ancillary. Thank you. My accent.
No, that I have not so much yet in New York State, but I do expect that waste management will be a part of the industry. It was in New York. I think the regulations are written in a way that allows businesses to handle. Sorry, let me take a step back. From sanitation, what aspect are you referring to? Maybe I should have paused there.
I mean, generally speaking, from touching the flower, disposing of it, to commercial couriers for retail locations. So it could vary. Generally speaking.
Okay, so yeah, a couple of different, I think, avenues that could be part of sanitation generally. One is waste management. How do businesses handle byproducts when byproducts of the process of them manufacturing their own products? How do they handle cannabis trim? So when cannabis flower is harvested and then trimmed to remove excess leaves, what happens to that excess plant material? I think the regulations in New York State are written in a way that make it somewhat easier for businesses to handle those processes themselves. But certainly there will likely be some third parties that help businesses work through some of that waste management. I haven't seen it yet, quite honestly, in New York State. I think a lot of businesses are handling it themselves. Doesn't mean that they won't pop up and there's not an opportunity for it. I actually operated a business in Colorado for 4 years before moving back to New York State for this particular position with DOL. And waste management was certainly a third party service that a lot of cannabis businesses utilized in Colorado, because the way that you had to really dispose of materials was a little bit harder. So, I haven't seen it yet in New York State. Quite honestly, I'm not sure it'll be a huge part of the industry, but I do think there could be opportunity. We could see that across New York, especially as cultivation moves from outdoor, where it mostly is in upstate New York currently, to more indoor spaces where it's a little bit harder to get rid of excess plant material. So that shift will probably come in the next several months to years. We could see some waste management opportunities come from it. If we're thinking also, in terms of sanitation, if we're thinking of facilities maintenance, making sure that facilities are clean, that their places are keeping up with their good manufacturing practices, which is required in New York State in terms of how products are manufactured in cannabis businesses. Certainly, consulting work we are seeing pop up, where third parties are providing information on how businesses can operate clean and compliant facilities. And then we're also seeing cannabis businesses that are hiring people to focus specifically on facilities maintenance, right? Whether it's maintaining equipment that helps their facilities continue to run, whether it's making sure that their facilities stay clean and are complying with good manufacturing practices. Those are certainly things that we're seeing pop up currently.
Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing you at the cannabis task force. I think they will benefit a lot from this, and you can expand on different topics with them. So thank you so much. I will pass this along to Happy Monkey and Sparkborough. I also will pass this along to members of our community that have a license, but because of the 1,000-foot rule, have left our neighborhood, but are still licensees. And I'll pass this along.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Dan, just the information. I'll wait for it in the chat as well.
Yep, it's coming in momentarily. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. So as we move our agenda along, thank you for Mark for being so patient with us. We had a bit of a long agenda, but this is an important topic that you're going to cover. Something that I'm excited to hear about. So take it away.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Anthony, and I really get what happens, in the life of a small business owner. You have this dream to become an entrepreneur, to launch a business. You want it to bring you profits, a lifestyle. You want it to bring you time and freedom. And what you find out is you have the commitment of like having a 7 or 8 kid family, with all the expenses that go with that, all the time that goes with it.
Sorry, Mark. Just for the minutes, can you please clarify your full name and your business and what you do? Sorry.
Okay. Happy to. My name is Mark Anthony. I work with business owners literally across the country and around the world on how to become more profitable, how to make the staff more accountable, and while doing that, make sure the business owner has more time. One of my businesses is salestraininganddevelopment.com and Training for Success. And everything that we talk about on those topics is specifically related to things that I have actually done in my own career to create 7- and 8-figure businesses as well as sell them profitably so that I was able to exit them. So literally doing what we said, start a business with the dream of freedom, lifestyle, more time, and have that business become an asset for you rather than the hardest job you've ever had. Uh, and to become that 7, 8 figure profitable business, I'm not going to say it's easy. I never use the word easy, but it is absolutely doable. And uh, and I've done it again and again. I started my first business locally at the age of only 19. I was working with local colleges like Columbia University, up by Baker Field, Fordham University in the Bronx, Manhattan College. And I produced magazines for them at 19, and I turned that into a 6 figure profitable business. Then in my 30s, I created a digital ad agency business and turned that into a 7 figure business and was able to exit that. And then I also built a brick and mortar e-commerce business that became one of the largest independent office supply company in the country, one of. And so that is a successful 8 figure business. And all along the way, what I've always done is coaching and training my own team as well as coaching and training entrepreneurs and their teams. So everything we talk about is based on uh, real world skills. And let's just stop. I brought a few slides together to just be able to teach a couple of very clear lessons that allows someone to actually have a profitable 7 figure business. And if you're that 6 figure area, break through that ceiling so you too can be a 7 figure business owner. So let me share some screens here. And okay, what we want to do is we want to focus on something I like to call tapping into the talent of your people. When you're doing that, when you start building an entire team, you're able to lift the whole business higher. And in so doing, actually break through that 7 figure ceiling that so many people struggle with and then increase your business. And one of the easiest ways to do that, of course, is if you had a team of superstars, super highly motivated people that were innovative, of creative, and everything wasn't on your shoulders, well, then you'd be able to see a path to not having to be the most overworked person in your business. So, how do you get those superstars? Because they're very hard to find. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a superstar, they'd just be average. And I just want to give you one tip to be able to start shifting that when you're starting to interview people to become part of your team. And that's a technique that I like to refer to as throw out the resume. So often people come in your door, you've done different things to find someone, you interview them, and you're looking at their resume, where they went to school, where they worked, what skill have they done? And I say, take the resume, crumple it up, and literally throw it in the garbage. And instead, what do? You think through a few thought out questions to ask the person. So, what do I mean by that? What do you want to do is find out the person's motivation. Why are they there for a job? What's really making them want a job, and what are they looking to get out of it? Rather than just the money, are they there to be able to pay for their college education and change the trajectory of their life? Are they looking to work part-time, but be able to have money coming in while they could be providing for their children? The more you know their why, you start to shift things. But the other thing you do is you start to recognize what parts of their personality match the task that you need done. And if you start thinking about the tasks that you need done, reverse engineer it and say, what skills make someone really good at getting the task result that you're looking for? I'm going to use an example that some clients had, which was with hiring salespeople. And in the past, they were always trying to hire salespeople that had sales experience. And the salesperson would always tell them a great story about how they were the top rep at wherever they were, what a great salesperson they were. Well, if they were so great, Why were they always leaving the prior sales job and looking for a new one? So, you start to think about that. Instead, what do you really want? You want someone who's really good at influencing people. So I'll give you the example of a local newspaper that was looking to hire someone to do local advertising promotions. Woman came in, young lady, only had a little bit of sales experience. So the owner was skeptical about hiring the person. But this young lady loved dance. And so when she was in high school, her high school did not have a dance team. So they didn't have it because they didn't have a moderator or the money for it. This young lady said, hey, if that's the reason we don't have a dance team, if I raise the money and get a faculty member to be our moderator, can we have a dance team? The administration said yes. She convinced a faculty member. She also raised the money to have all the uniforms and everything herself. Does this sound like someone who might have some sales skills? The young lady went on to college. Same thing happened once again. And she just used the same formula. She convinced the school to let her raise the money, but this time she convinced some of the other classmates that also wanted to be on the school's dance team to also go out and raise money. She did about 80% of it, but she motivated other people to do it as well. Do you think this person's really showing the tendency, the pattern to influence others, to sell when she's getting a no? And then she went on to her first place to work, and the boss had product that was too expensive to sell. So she creatively said, instead of selling something for $8,000, can I get 8 local restaurants to each chip in $1,000 and to make it a local restaurant page to be promoted? The boss said yes. She charged $1,500. Everybody saved a little bit of money. They got a focused advertisement, and everybody won. And then the client that I had said, but she only had one real sales job. I got them to suddenly recognize what the person's lifetime pattern was of influence, of not being afraid to take on an objection, not being afraid to change people's minds and to stick with something. And by doing that, they threw out the resume and wound up getting their best salesperson. And we took that formula to numerous businesses. And all of a sudden, when they had trouble finding good people, they instead started focusing on the personality and the traits that made someone good in the role. So if you find someone with the right why, the right motivations, and the right way of living their life, you can get a good person. Again, we could do an hour on just this topic alone. Let's jump on to step number 2, though. To be one of those businesses that breaks into the 7-figure club in sales and then profitability, the business owner cannot do it themselves. You need to have accountability from every member of your team. You, as the business owner, don't need to be telling them what to do and what result they must get. Instead, you create the role of defining what drives your team to the destination. So let's take a local restaurant, for example, or maybe a pharmacy. In both cases, you want to be getting lots and lots of repeat business. That's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to pay your rent. That's how you're going to keep the product moving off your shelves in a pharmacy case or a local store. And a restaurant's going to keep their tables full and turning them over. So what are the skills that you want there to drive the team on? Well, maybe you need to get not just the people coming in. That's going to come from better reviews. So if possibly the driver is connecting with every customer by letting them know your name, by learning their name, by using their name so they feel like they're in a place that knows them and cares about them rather than just doing a cash transaction. You create accountability to your people connecting, not just serving something. In addition to that, maybe you wanted more reviews. What's one of the main ways you get reviews? You actually have to ask your customer for them. So if you tracked the driver of how many times you asked for a review, how many times you checked with the customer to see if everything was to their satisfaction, if you did those two actions each time you waited on the table or served someone at your business, I guarantee you when you then looked at how many reviews you were getting, you would be getting many more. And of course, those reviews serve your Google local listing. They give credibility for people wanting to come to your store versus another store. You know, you're looking for a chiropractor. Which local chiropractor should you go to? There's 4 in your area. You're going to look at reviews. So when you get people who understand that they care about the patient, the customer, and they become accountable to a driving action to get that review, you influence what happens and you start to inspire your team. So essentially what we're talking about here is you got to tell your people how to get there, but let it become their idea. When you know where you were, who you are, who your people are, and where you want to go as a team, you start to create 7-figure breakthroughs. And all people who are good, especially those superstars, they want to win a game. You want to win a game of profitability as the business owner. You want to win the game of getting your time back. Well, you can't win the game. No one can play a good game if you don't know the score. You can't come back in a basketball game. Sorry, Knicks, that we didn't come back the way we were hoping to. But if there was no score up there, we wouldn't know what we were playing for. We wouldn't know that the pressure was on. You can't win if you don't know the score. So you need to be able to find ways to make what you want your team doing measurable. So I'm going to just give you, but again, measure the driver rather than the result you're going for. And rather than talking about a lot of business examples like sales or improving SEO, I'm going to say it works with everything in life. Many of you who own businesses also have a family. And in that family, you have children. And what do you want for your children? To get better grades. You could say that the result you want is an A or a B average, depending on where they are. But if you didn't even look at your child's report card and all you noticed was that their attendance was nearly perfect. Number 2, you notice that they suddenly spent 2 hours a night studying. They were actually taking the time to do every evening's homework assignment. As a parent, if you never even looked at your child's grades, could you almost guarantee that those grades went up? And I'm positive the answer is yes. Because the drivers to getting that improved grade is actually being in the classroom, doing the studying, doing the assignments. Those are the things that drive good grades. You want to play soccer or American football, right? You want to, without even looking at the actual points on the board, which team is winning? More than likely, it's the team with more time of possession, more shots on goal, and they had the fewest amount of penalty kicks allowed, right? Those are drivers to getting the points on the board and to getting the victory. It's the same thing in business. If you know the number of prospects reached, the number of appointments made, the number of proposals going out, you're definitely going to see your sales numbers going up. Whether you're a software company trying to break into a new territory, an insurance agency, a cannabis dispensary, it doesn't matter. There's definite drivers that make your sales go up, make your team become accountable, and in so doing that, get your time back while you're building your business's profitability. So we get the right team, we make that team accountable, and then we actually have a dashboard making sure that those people are going up. This is the formula that I have used with people across the country and used in my own businesses to actually take businesses that were doing hundreds of thousands, put them at the $1 million mark, and then break through and then applied this again to create 8-figure businesses as well as exit them. This is not theory. This is what people who are having a successful business do. And sadly, too many folks, on Broadway, on Main Street, are so busy working in the business, they never stop to just focus on those 2 key areas to grow their business. You need to know the dashboard, the measurable way of doing all these things. But what's that third piece? I said I was going to cover 3. There's many more than 3 that grow a truly successful business. But if you want to just tap into the talent, it's team, it's accountability, and that P is processes. So if you look at the Blue Angels here flying, and they flew over fairly recently for Memorial Day, obviously they're very skilled pilots to be able to do this. But is it just their talent that allowed them to fly off together and then hold this type of formation and go higher and higher and do things that other pilots can't do? Of course not. They know the process, the procedures of how they're going to fly in a tight formation to achieve the objective that they're going for. If you do not want to be working 80 hours a week in your business, which feels like 80 hours a day sometimes, if you do not want to be the most overworked employee in your business and having a business that owns you, instead of you being the person who owns the business and builds a powerful asset, you need to have scalability that comes out of having processes created. Okay, so your mission is to pull all of this together. Okay, and it may be hard. Again, I didn't say it was going to be easy, but it's also not mission impossible. It is very possible, and lots of businesses have done it. This is what the common threads of every business that has that 7-figure profitability. And it comes down to the processes, because extraordinary people, the superstar, they are really hard to find. Extraordinary predictable results, those are even harder to find and create. But the solution, because I'm all about solutions, business owners, we're not allowed to whine about how hard it is. We took this on. We need solutions. And one of the fastest solutions to changing everything that you want is to put great procedures in place. And the reason you need to do that is you cannot count on a superstar walking in your door and you being able to hire a superstar. They're too rare. Even the best sports teams have 1, maybe 2 superstars on there. The other people on a pro team are exceptional, but they're not the superstar. It's too hard to find an entire team of superstars. That's not realistic. Okay. But we can build a team through extraordinary processes. And so for anyone watching, I really want to encourage you to grab a screenshot of what's right up on the screen right now. It's just 10 simple steps to create extraordinary processes. See, if you have to bring someone in and teach them what to do, and then they are gone, it's such a frightening, difficult process to now have to go and take another person through it again and stop everything that you're doing. And if they leave, to do it again. And the reality for a small business, we don't always have the same resources. So we're going to possibly have to face some turnovers because that superstar might wind up going somewhere else or even outgrowing your business. We may not want that to happen, but it might be the reality of it. So how do we keep putting a new person in the slot?
Thank you, Mark. We're just coming up on time. I also want you to share. Thank you so much for sharing 3 out of the 7 pillars that you talk about in your book. I just want to share. I want you to share a little bit about what you do at the end, and what type of services you can offer our businesses. This was a great presentation. I know there's more, in terms of the pillars. What do you do? What do you offer?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And at this stage in my career, my passion really is helping small businesses create the breakthroughs that I did. So on this slide that's right up here, anyone who wants to get the book, you can even get a free copy of it just by texting me at the number that's there, 646-508-7320. And so that I know what it's about, just add in the word free in the message, or email me. And on each of the slides has my email information right there. And I'll pop it in the chat as well as it's on a slide there. And just say, hey, can I get that free copy of the book? But what are my services? My services always start with sitting down with the business owner, finding out where you want to take this business. Why did you start it? Where do you want to take it? Once I know that, you're going to tell me your 3 biggest problems that have driven you crazy that are stopping you from getting there, or just making it take all of your time and sucking that energy out of you, or stopping the profitabilities. You tell me that, and then we're going to figure out if we need to put in a marketing solution, a sales solution, a hiring solution, an accountability solution, as I mentioned, a process solution. And it boils down to, in each case, we all have things we're doing right in our business, but there's something we know we can do better. And I go in, we talk about it. I actually really roll up my sleeves and do that without even charging a fee, quite honestly. Because if I can't help you, we shouldn't work together. If we can redefine your business, then we're excited to work together, and then we can figure out what the appropriate plan would be from there. But my key thing is, let's figure out the challenge. And then as business owners, especially small business owners, we got to take on the challenges. This is
All
done
right.
real world stuff.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate it. Like I mentioned before, we're working on the business research side. It should be coming out in the fall. I will put your name and your contact information for people who want to increase their revenue, drive it using your 7 pillars, and getting this book, and see what's wrong with their process or any of the steps that you mentioned. We appreciate you coming out and talking about it. Honestly, this is useful information. But we want to make sure that that is tailored to each business. So we're going to put your name out there, your number, and they'll reach out to you with specific issues. But thank you so much. Before we go, I do want to take some time to share my screen here. First thing I want to share is the workforce career center address, 215 West. This is the phone number. I know, Carl, you were mentioning it. Yep. All right.
The 6th floor.
Yeah. Shout out to Dad for this. This is also some dashboards that he mentioned in terms of specific job data. So this is important to the location of the workforce.
Well, we had the numbers.
Oh,
I won't do that.
yeah, gotcha.
And, all right.
Okay.
Hmm.
And last thing is, this is very interesting. I mentioned it. A study done by Banks, 2024, about cannabis salary guide U.S. wide. So I just want to, for folks that want to read on this, there's a copy of the report that you can download, and that's Banks. Lastly, and I'll be brief here. Just bear with me. Okay. Um. This is something that Bruce we mentioned. Uh, this is the AI Essentials in Washington Heights and Inwood. Brought to you by Yeshiva University and the Washington Heights Chamber of Commerce. The course is $75, and this is 14 lessons on AI Essentials. This is the website. Go on it if you want to optimize your business in terms of content and AI. Sign up for it. Okay. All right. Any other questions from the committee? Moving the agenda along. Thank you so much, Mark, again. Any other questions from the committee? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Mark. Just thank you for providing the services that you do. It seems like the intake process or interview process is free, but what are your fees once that moment is over?
I thought I was muted there for a second. It will actually vary from business to business. Sometimes it can be, there's times when I've done it pro bono for people, and there's times when it's always I am truly developing my services to make sure that I will not work with someone if they're not getting a solid ROI on the business. But I've worked with companies that have 100 employees, and I've worked with people who have 2 employees, and it's really based on what their sales objectives are.
That makes sense. But if you were, it's hard to promote something when we don't have a base to say, well, it might cost you between $5,000 to $100,000, or whatever those numbers could be. Do you have a significant range?
But one of the most common things I'll do with a smaller business is I'll actually often work with the entire month even for free, because I want to make sure that we're actually figuring out how to get them the ROI that they need. To tell someone that the cost of something is going to, and I actually in marketing call that a risk reversal offer. There's too many business services I've seen out there that talk a really big game.
Well, I guess and I'm sorry to cut you off there, Mark. I guess what Darlie is trying to say is, in your previous clients, what is the range of a price that you've charged historically speaking? So, when we relay this information, especially to the general board, we want to know, hey, right, exactly.
I appreciate that, but I've worked with clients. If you tell someone who's struggling that a cost is $5,000, that might sound like a lot of money to them, and then you're suddenly helping them get $50,000 in sales, and then it's not, but then they get stuck because of that. And that's why, from a marketing approach, I'll usually do a risk reversal offer. That said, I usually charge significantly less than what other people do for the scope of projects that I do. But if someone's looking to work with me for $500, and they think $500 is a massive amount of money, then I'm probably not the right fit. But I would still speak to that person to try and get them going in the right direction, because I remember what that was like.
We understand. So ultimately, our business is it's their decision, right? On when after they get free consultation to make that determination whether they want to make that investment. But thank you again, Mark. Again, I appreciate the work that you do. We're just gonna move along in the agenda.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions? No? Good. All right. Any new business? Any old business? Okay, great. And any announcements? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
A motion by Carl. Can I get a second? Second by Darlie. The time is 9:00. Thank you so much, guys. You've been a great all guests. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ty, for tuning in.
Thank you all.
I hope you got some insights. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Oh, go to the art stroll. What is it? Oh yeah, the art stroll next week. Yes, yes.
It's actually my building.
Oh, everybody have a great summer. I'll see you guys in the fall. Go to the art stroll. Go to Cloths.
No, it's NOMA, NOMAA Art Stroll. It's all over Washington. It's Inwood and West Charles. There are a couple hundred venues for the month of June.
Can I get a guide? I need a guide.
Can I see that?
It's free.
It's just
And also
Artists.
for
Small business people.
the Community League of the Heights is doing the summer jazz, like land jazz at the plaza. It's in here also, so come out. Thank you, Radia, for the guests. Take care, guys, and have a good summer. Thank you, Radia.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night. Bye.